All right. It is Tuesday, which means it's time for the big three. You know how it goes, Sports Empire Network. We're here every Tuesday night, 7 o'clock. Got another great show for you. Before we get into that, let me introduce the guys. Jake, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Is looking forward to a great show. We got lots of basketball to talk about, lots of great playoff basketball being played. It's good times. Looking forward to the show.
Yeah, we know one person on here is going to be excited to talk NBA playoffs, and we'll definitely get into that later into the show.
One person who? Dylan?
Yes.
Dylan?
Yeah, it's Dylan.
I'm sure Dylan's loving it with the playoffs,
I mean, Kyle, y'all play tonight, right?
Yep. Yeah, we do. Been a couple of days that I've seen a bunch of people overreacting on Twitter, so I'm sure tonight's going to be much of the same, one way or the other. But yeah, so Dylan, how you doing?
I'm doing good. No teams in sports outside of, Seattle and the NHL doing really well. So I'm just kind of watching these playoffs and just enjoying them. I thought yesterday's game was a really good game. I'm glad it wasn't a blowout like the last two games were on each side. But overall, I mean, I'm just enjoying it right now. I'm enjoying seeing the Kraken do good. We play, I believe, if it's not tonight, we'll play Wednesday. We're up 2-1 right now. One more win, and that's the conference finals. I'm excited.
Okay, that's what's up. First, before we get to Jordan, just want to say, what's up, Jory? See you in the chat. Appreciate you tuning in. I know she's happy for last night as well, as another Laker fan. They're everywhere. And all right, Jordan, how you doing, man? Coming off the big win last night, I'm sure you're happy.
Yeah, I'm doing good, man. Gonna have another great episode. Playoff. Your team's playing tonight. What the crazy game that happened? Game what? That was game 4 for you guys.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm excited. Is it so? Suns is a later game, right?
Yes.
And then Philly the first game. So yeah, I'm excited. Like you said, Lakers. It was a pretty good game up in the fourth quarter, back and forth. Lakers is did what they had to do. Now they gotta just take it. I mean, we'll get into all that. But I'm excited. Up 3-1. So I'm.
Yeah, like you said, we'll get into NBA playoff.
Yeah,
and all that.
I'm excited. I'm excited right now. Like I'm excited. We gotta save it for later.
Yeah, we'll lead into it. Got a couple of other people here.
Gonna be Lakers Celtics finals. That'd be a good series.
It could happen at this point. I don't know anymore.
Or Miami. I was hearing Miami.
Outside of the Lakers, seeing Miami in the finals again might be the worst thing for me. I wrote them off this year. If they make the finals, I'm gonna look crazy with that.
I saw on Twitter, like it can be a bubble repeat, Heat and Lakers in the finals.
I don't want that.
Sure,
but I don't want that.
It could. No one wants that. I mean, I don't think anyone outside of Miami likes the Heat. I hate this team. We'll talk about it when we get to basketball. But I hate that. I hate that team, and I have no reason to hate them other than they shouldn't be good.
Hey, Jake, I know we're not going to talk about MLB, but who's your MLB team?
The Brewers. I actually just got a hat the other day, and it's pretty sharp.
Nice.
Best logo in sports.
I don't know anybody else on that team except like Christian Yelich.
Yeah, they got the strength of that team is the pitching staff with Burns and Woody and Peralta. They got three legit aces on that staff that are holding the team down.
Pitching helps. Oh, Syjan, Daniel Berry, appreciate you tuning in. Syjan letting us know if my Suns lose the series, riding with Miami.
Fair enough.
Okay. Sounds like a Freddie thing.
I don't think he's switching allegiances. It's just that
it's just
the team that's left.
You have to root for.
I don't think Syjan. Maybe I don't think he knows about Freddie, but maybe he's confused. But I guess Freddie. I was gonna say Freddie once was a Rams fan, supported them their Super Bowl win, and then he hop ship and he's a Giants fan. So
I don't think
Just letting us know who he's rooting for. Yeah.
Like
Same
it's the
with
same
me.
thing.
Like if the Celtics lose, I'd probably say
We all have a
root
team,
for the
you know.
Nuggets to
Like
win it all.
We have a team when our guys are like for Dylan and I, our teams aren't out, but we have. I'm sure there's teams that we're internally rooting for that we want to see win because that's just how we are as sports fans. You root for a team, and so that's what I'm saying. Not accusing you of being a bandwagoner, and I don't think anybody's gonna be a bandwagon fan for Miami, anyways.
you're on last night with Fred. Hi, so you already met him. Yep.
Yeah, he was in the chat for Chiefs.
Yeah. He was all up in the chat, man. Sajin, you're awesome with that.
Yeah, so appreciate you tuning in another night. But before we get into NBA, since we're all anxious to talk about, let's talk about the NFL really quickly.
Are we doing the NBA reference tonight?
Yes.
Towards the end. Okay. Awesome.
Yep, I have players ready to go. It's been about a couple of weeks I've had them ready, but tonight we'll actually do them. But
can't wait.
Schedule release is Thursday night. We know it's always a big thing for a lot of fans to see who they're going to be playing, when, what part of the schedule, what's going to be the toughest part of the schedule, who's going to have primetime games and all that. So for you guys, first question, is schedule release is it a big deal for you? Like, do you make it appointment watching to watch, NFL network coverage or ESPN coverage as they release it, or do you kind of just wait for it to leak a few hours before and then you're good? Let's start with Jordan on this one.
I think that like back in the day, it didn't really matter, but now with the whole switcheroo of like quarterbacks and teams have new coaches and stuff, and I mean, well, maybe not off the bat, like the Colts can they get a couple primetime games with CJ Stroud? Like most fans want to see him, or like Panthers. Well, that might take a couple of years. Like Bryce Young on the Panthers, people want to see the number one draft pick, see how he does. So it's exciting to see which teams like get prime time this year, because like I'm pretty sure you saw on my Twitter on my Pocket Twitter page, I said that like I liked it because like teams who had not really been in the limelight of like prime time, they could get a chance to like show themselves, and some new teams to make around on the Texans now. So a lot of different, people on different teams. So yeah, I mean, it's not really like, I wouldn't say it's like an exciting holiday for me, but I just want to see, I'm curious to see like, if the Ravens play on Christmas, or, what matches, or, what the NFL decides to start with, like Bengals and Bills, or Chiefs and Eagles Super Bowl matchup, rematch, so I'm just excited to see like what the matchups are. And like now me and Jory have a bet now, like with the Titans and Ravens, they play. I think that's one of our away games. So I'm curious to see when we play, like, is that gonna be like a Thursday night game or a Sunday night, Monday night game? So I'm excited.
All right. Dylan, schedule release, is it that important to you?
I mean, it's not like something like I'm waiting, marking on the calendar or anything like that. It's more of like something I just like, look on my phone when it's over with. Outside of that, like, it gets me excited. I mean, it gets me excited for the concept that like you actually can start like, picking winners and stuff like that. You can start predicting your season, be like, okay, we have 2 road games this week, then we go play a home game. Like, this is who we play off our bye week. And it's where you can kind of start making your predictions for the season. That's when people will start making their predictions. Their win totals will start becoming a little more clearer, everything like that. But outside of it, it's not anything that I'm like overly excited and like crazy to see. It's just something that I'm like, okay, like, cool.
Okay. So Sajin put in the chat, can't wait for the NFL schedules. So
who's your team, Sajin? I'm curious to see if you
I mean, Suns basketball fan, are you a Cardinals
Suns,
fan?
Yeah. Ooh. I'm a Kyler Murray fan, so I guess I can't hate that.
Yeah. Jake, you anticipating schedule release?
No, like for me, I don't really care. Like, I've been a football fan my whole life. I'm in my 30s. This wasn't a big deal when I was a teenager watching football a whole lot. So I don't care. The things like we got Sajin's a Seahawks fan.
Seahawks fan.
Yes.
I will say that the only thing I really care about is I'll look at my schedule for my team, and I want to know, okay, who what's the bye week is all I really care to find out in like May and June and July. I want to know when our bye is, see if we got a good bye, and then I'll look and I'll see who's playing on Thanksgiving and just see if the Thanksgiving games look good. Other than that, it's like
There's a Black Friday game too this year.
there is, and that's very interesting. But other than that, it's more of something just to kind of get the addicts along a little further we get to further stuff for the NFL. But for me, it's like, it's cool that they make a thing of it, but I don't pay a whole lot of. They could release it in June, and it wouldn't make a difference for me. I'll put it that way.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I'm surprised that's a good point. I'm surprised they do it this early. Maybe it's just people can start talking about it. And like,
it's for people to talk about it. They want to. The
content.
NFL wants to take as much media attention as they can, and they know that the basketball, the finals haven't ramped up quite yet. The draft just ended. Like I said, the NFL fans, they're addicts more or less, since this is another thing to kind of string them along. I guess
we're all addicts. We're all football fans.
Yeah, and it's not a bad thing. I'm not saying it's not like we're like freaking like alcoholics, but it's
no.
It just keeps us going. It keeps the interest,
excitement.
and it's something the NFL.
It's like getting a tattoo.
Yeah, absolutely. Like once the NFL once they figured out how to own more months of the year, they've slowly been trying to do that, and this is another way they've been doing that. And it's smart business. It's great business, but for me as a fan, it doesn't weigh too much heavily on me.
Mm-hmm. Like as we're on the football topic, are y'all thinking about getting the YouTube TV? Like,
I want to know the price. I
was looking. I think it said it was like price, was it like $249 or something like that for a year?
I think if you sign up before June 6th, you get $100 off.
So it was like $300. So it'll be like $100 off for $300 something. So like $249. But it's for like a whole year.
I know it's $100. Yeah.
Maybe I can get my dad to split it with me or something.
I already asked my parents. They said hell no. But me and my brother might do it. Me and my brother might split it. So.
Possibly. It's really tempting because you get any game you want. You don't have to.
But I'm not a YouTube subscribe. Oh, I'm not a YouTube member, so.
I think they even have it that you don't necessarily have to be with YouTube TV to get it. You can get it as part of like your normal YouTube subscription. I think.
I'm sure they have that.
So you can have it separate from YouTube TV, I believe.
I should have had the single game pass. Is all I'm saying.
Yeah, I know that's the part that a lot of people.
I think they have the single. I think they had the single team package where you go like, if you want to watch your Seahawks. Oh, I thought they did. I thought they had.
No, it was rumored that was something that they might do, but they never did it.
So it might be something like next year. I don't know.
I mean, Ravens are going to be on a lot of part-time games this year. So, maybe the Seahawks too.
Maybe. I'm sure the Seahawks will have a couple of matchups that are on.
We always get like 2 Thursday night games and like 2 Monday night games. It's weird.
Yeah, didn't they say they're gonna have like 2 instead of 1 Prime Amazon Prime? They're gonna have 2 games on Thursday, which I don't like because Amazon a lot of people don't like Amazon Prime. Yeah, teams can be on Thursday night football twice. Oh, that's twice. They can be on like
twice a season.
Because before it was just you were on once because they tried to get every team on prime time.
Oh, I thought it was 2 games on Thursday. Oh, okay.
No. But I do like kind of the stat tracking that Amazon Prime does have. I think that is pretty interesting. I mean, yeah, it's gonna get some used to for fans to be like, oh yeah, Thursday night gotta go to Amazon Prime. I think that's where it was last year. Was like a lot of people kind of forgot it was on Amazon Prime, and then had to be reminded, and they were just like, oh, whatever. But I think it'll be fine this year. But looking at prime time, because like we all said, that's kind of what we look at with the schedule release. Adam Schefter, he talked about the changes to the schedule. NFL will have a Black Friday game, first time ever, which I'm not doing anything Black Friday anyway. I'll watch football. Games don't necessarily belong to networks anymore. I think that's a
So yeah,
interesting
that's
aspect to it.
I was confused about. Like, what is
So
that?
basically, go ahead, Jake. Go ahead.
So basically, what it means is, and this has been going on for years and years and years, is that one network will have the majority of the NFC in one market, and one network has the AFC. So, for instance, if you've noticed, Fox usually has like every NFC game, and CBS has been having the AFC games. Same with playoffs. Like it's very structured. Now, when there's
Like
interleague,
NBC
between
has like the Sunday night or whatever.
yeah,
Thursday.
and so when AFC and NFC play, they change it up a little bit because they're obviously it's interconference play, but they sign a contract. Fox and CBS signed contracts for the NFC and AFC respectively, and now it's just basically going to be like a highest bidder. And we kind of saw that. I don't remember which game it was, but there was one game this year where Fox paid a lot of money. I think it was the Niners Bucks game that maybe CBS paid a lot of money for, and it would turn out to be a blowout. One of those games, a network paid a lot of money to get because they wanted to have that spotlight. And I think that's what kind of started this discussion. It's interesting. I don't know how I feel about it. I don't think it's really going to affect a whole lot of a thing other than just what I've been used to for 30 years watching football.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I see where it could be beneficial, because if you're in an area where maybe the AFC game that's on alongside the NFC game, maybe the AFC game doesn't interest you as much, so then that network probably looks at it and says, well, this other game is pretty good just because it's not an AFC game. We can't have it on our network. So now you probably will just get two really good games, 1 o'clock window, 4 o'clock window, instead of one kind of being, maybe it'll be pretty good, but I don't know. But yeah, I think like Jake said, it'll just be interesting to see the decisions the networks make with certain games, and will they take advantage of it necessarily in the best way.
So, for instance, if I wouldn't like if the networks whatever. So now it's like a free for all, like that matchup. So there's no point in me paying the YouTube TV then, right? Because I'm in Jersey, so like the CBS they play the Jets games or Giants games because I'm in that area.
I would say for you, yeah, because I feel like if there's any chance for them to put the Jets on, they probably will.
Oh no, I know they will. I know. If the Jets go blown, they might put the Ravens or whoever, Titans, whoever is on next, whatever. It's like say if that's like the same time block, like 1 o'clock game. If the Jets are not like getting blown out, which now they have Aaron Rodgers, so I'm not sure they're gonna get blown out. But like I know, like they might just if it's like 45-6, they was gonna flip it over to like the next game, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I was confused about that. Like if they're gonna have like certain channels where it's like AFC and then or like CBS gonna have a couple games.
It's just going to be up for grabs. So the teams I'm assuming there's going to be some sort of bidding process or some sort of contractual. Like they head into each week saying, okay, let's make the plan for which games we want. They have to come to some sort of agreement. Okay, we'll concede this one to you, but next week we get this matchup that we really want. And the funny thing is, all of that can be avoided by getting the YouTube NFL pass and just picking any game that you want. But to Kyle's point, like I can't tell you how many times growing up in the western part of the country, Broncos were on my market, and when the Broncos were bad, I hated seeing them like a Broncos Raiders game where both teams are bad. It's like, gosh, man, I'm watching it because it's football, but this sucks. Mm-hmm. And now you can have more flexibility for the networks where they can ultimately make more money because there'll be more interest in watching the games.
So Sijan asked, I wonder how many overseas games will be played this season. I know there's a Germany game.
Yeah, our team's playing Germany. The Saints and Patriots playing Germany, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I forget that because the Patriots have like a big following in Germany because they've had a couple of players who came from there. Hold on. Jake, that YouTube pass is a car note payment.
It sounds expensive. I don't like it. As someone who doesn't have a car payment, I don't want to.
Yeah, I think the regular price is $349. If you sign up by June 6th, you get it for $249.
Jeez, that's a lot of money.
So that that including playoff games too, but they're free anyway because they're on national television. The playoff games. So
yeah, the playoff games. Yeah, because every game is going to be.
But basically, it's like because I got in. Well, I might delete it now because it's playoffs, but it's basically like the NBA League Pass, really. But NBA League Pass is cheaper though because it's like $14.99 per that's per month. So, but you get every single you can add free, but like me, I can watch like Utah versus like Thunder and stuff, and
Yeah. I
So
think the thing,
it's basically like that, right?
right? It's similar, but the thing that's different with it, as far as I know, with the YouTube Pass, is that there's no blackout markets.
Right.
Whereas with League Pass, if you're like, for instance, when I lived in Utah and I was a Utah Jazz fan, I wanted to get League Pass, but I couldn't watch any of the games because
Right.
it was blacked out. So it's kind of pointless. Here, it's you could pick any team regardless of market, as far as I understand it.
I believe so. Yeah.
And that's a big plus for the YouTube Pass.
Yeah.
Right.
Let's see. So teams can be on Thursday Night Football twice, talked about. And then maybe the biggest point of this, not all teams are guaranteed to have a primetime spot. So if you're trash, no reason to put you on primetime. Does anybody have a problem with that? Because we know normally they put a team on at least once to expose them to the NFL market.
Are they meaning just like any team or just like the crap, like the Bears?
And no, so any team.
Take this season, the schedule comes out, like
Houston.
Want to see, I was going to say the Cardinals because they've been kind of a mess for the past couple of years. Like, would you want to see the Cardinals on prime time? Some might because of the Kyler Murray, at least aspect of it, but some people be like, I'm good on that. The Texans, because of how bad they've been the past couple of years, that might be another team that wouldn't be guaranteed one. Now, because they have a young quarterback, that might save them. Maybe they get one just to show CJ Stroud. But some other teams where they've been struggling for years, looks like they're going to have another terrible season. For the NFL to put them on primetime for nobody to watch it, what's the point?
Yep. And for Anthony saying, asking when did all teams have a primetime spot, they have for the past few years. And part of the problem with Thursday night football's popularity is that when the league makes their schedule, they're like, okay, the really crappy teams, you get to play on Thursday night.
Exactly. Yep.
And so people, and even this past year, it'd be like Texans, Titans. And I'm like, I don't want to watch. And it starts at 8:30 at night if you're on the East Coast like I am. It's like, I don't want to stay up till 11:30 or midnight watching two crap teams. So it's a great market. Some people just write off Thursday Night Football because it's had historically bad football games because you have the short week, which leads to bad games, and then bad teams just kind of compounds that.
Yeah. As Anthony says, Amazon reflects some of them games, which this kind of helps them out. Because like Jake said, Thursday night just became bad team, got to get you on prime time. We'll dump you on Thursday. If people groan about it, we'll live with it because at least you're going to get better Monday night, Sunday night games.
A lot of AFC South teams on Thursday.
To be honest, the only Thursday game that I really enjoyed was probably that was it the Ravens Buccaneers when they played Tom Brady? Other than that, Broncos got blown out a lot.
Yeah, you enjoyed it because you were a Ravens fan.
Well, no, but I mean,
that matchup was like
we usually play really on Monday. Well, if you're in prime time, we usually play Monday night or Sunday night. So Thursday night I was like, all right, cool. I'd rather say then than watch the Broncos or who they play. Got blown by the Chargers, I think that one Thursday
the Denver
night.
Colts game that Anthony mentioned in the chat was atrocious. And so this helps fix that where we don't get these bad teams. Now, granted, Denver was supposed to be a lot better than people thought they'd be better than what they turned out to be.
They might even get more with Sean Payne's in town.
As far as the flexing goes, I don't think you can flex a Thursday night game because of travel, and you have to be very careful with the Thursday night game on the schedule. But this just helps clear up the garbage, so to speak, and get more good games on the Thursday night.
All right, so Saichin's wondering who are our NFL teams. I'm a Patriots fan. Jake, Saints.
Saints fan. Yep.
Dylan.
Seahawks.
Dylan cheered when you said Seahawks, so he's another Seahawks fan. And
me, Jordan, I'm not a fan of any team. I'm just a casual. I'm a Baltimore Ravens fan.
Yeah. And then, Anthony in chat is the Commanders fan, I believe.
Yep.
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, Saijan, that's who our teams are, and trust me, you'll hear a lot about them during the season. But yeah, you and Dylan rocking the
Especially the
12th man and all that.
Unfortunately.
So, looking at the 4 changes to the schedule, what do you think is the potential to be the biggest get for the NFL and really drive up popularity? And which one of these do you think could backfire on them? Let's start with
Thursday
Dylan.
night.
Okay.
Probably playing Thursday twice is probably going to be one. No teams now like playing on Thursday, and now you're telling some of them that they have to play twice. I don't think they'll be pretty happy about that. I'm not a big fan of Thursdays either. I think some teams might not like the all primetime, well, not guaranteed primetime spot, but I don't think it really.
Get good.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, maybe the game's not belonging to networks, but again, like every football fan, if they're already watching it on Fox, they can watch it on CBS. They'll have access to probably both. I mean, outside if you have like Paramount Plus or something like that, I guess that might be a little annoying. You'd have to switch, like, you know, let's say if you're a Chiefs fan, I know Chiefs play a lot of times on CBS. So, you know, maybe you have to switch up there. That could be a little annoying. But outside of that, I think the 2 Thursday night games is where teams won't like it.
Yep. I'll agree with Dylan. The teams playing twice on Thursday night is definitely going to be the one that could potentially backfire. Like Dylan, I don't like Thursday night football games. I'm really old-fashioned in that way, where I feel like the quality of football is very low compared to, even regardless of the teams that are playing. It's not the best football that you see. It's usually the more injuries happen. The players don't like it. The players are saying, you say you care about safety, but you're adding more Thursday night games to these teams. I could see that backfiring. As far as what could make things the biggest boom, I'd say that not all teams having a primetime spot guaranteed will make people want to watch what would otherwise be bad Thursday night games or even bad Monday night games that they can't flex. I think that's a pretty big get that I really like. But as far as the Thursday night games, I'm not a huge fan. And as far as Black Friday, like that's cool, but kind of sucks for college football because a lot of big rivalries play a game on Black Friday. So I wonder how it will affect that. But that's college football's problem, not the NFL's problem.
Yeah, I mean, I wish I was in the like the meeting with Roger Goodell or like the NFL, because like I've heard like on Twitter that a lot of NFL fans would like that instead of having like, I mean, they can have like maybe one Thursday night game, but then have another. Well, sometimes they do this for like the end of the year when they can flex, but they can flex games. But I like the idea of having like, so you had your Monday night game or you had your Sunday night game. That technically people say that Sunday is the first day of the next week. So you have Sunday night game, you have the Monday night game, and Tuesday take a little break. People can travel. Wednesday, Thursday, one Thursday night game, and then Friday. I think that's more high school, college football. Then have a game on Saturday. You know,
Saturday's a big college football day.
I know that's where I think I wouldn't see it happening, but I've heard, hey, people like, oh, I don't mind like going to a bar on Saturday, like, you know. Watching a game or two, you know, or a game. I wouldn't mind that. But then again, at college football, like that's the issue. But
yeah, that's why they basically wait until that.
Would y'all be like
that quiet period between the end of the college football regular season and the bowl season
to like flex?
Then the NFL puts Saturday games on because they know Saturday.
But y'all wouldn't be opposed to that. I mean, other than college football, but like because usually some games are like 1 o'clock. Usually, like they have like a 4:25 game or like an evening game, like.
Yeah, but
Saturdays are early too.
For college football Saturday, you get 1 o'clock. There's usually a really good matchup. 4 o'clock, a good one.
That'd be
Saturday prime time. Yeah, it's gonna be rough to try to schedule an NFL game and not take away from the college football audience, because then you're kind of splitting your fan base. Because a lot of NFL fans are fans of somebody in college football.
That's
so
true.
You could risk doing that.
I just thought, you know, having football like every other day, that'd be awesome. Like NFL team, like, you know. But I guess they can, plus you travel too, like, you know, so that's another factor.
You basically do. There's some college football games on Tuesday somehow. There's some on like Wednesdays.
Yeah.
Almost like that.
Saijan. Seahawks, Mariners, Suns, Tampa Bay Lightning.
North Dakota State football.
LFC.
That's North Dakota football.
What is LFC?
Or is that Notre Dame?
Notre Dame. Oh,
LFC. How's Notre Dame LFC?
Is that soccer?
Yeah, I see LFC. I'm thinking Liverpool.
Liverpool Soccer Club or
Football club.
Yeah, Notre Dame football. I didn't even see the last one yet. All right.
Did we get that right side? It was LFC, Liverpool, and ND. Okay, Liverpool. There we go. All right, so we got another soccer fan.
Mohamed Salah.
One of my favorite players. All right.
Oh yeah, we gotta answer that question on my show about the Ronaldo Messi debate with the dude from England. In the Champions League too. He asked a question about the Champions League.
Soccer is
who won that game, Kyle? I know we're off track, but Real Madrid, they played Man City.
It was a draw, 1-1. Now they play next week in the second leg to see who moves on to the Champions League final. So my Man City pick is still looking alive. All right, so before we get off of this, any other final thoughts on NFL before we get to the NBA playoffs and everything?
No.
All right, so let me remove this real quick. So as we set up the playoff bracket, and we're also going to get into some of the awards as well. So I guess I actually do the awards first. I think some of these were kind of interesting. So we've learned the rookie teams, we've learned defensive teams. I think all NBA is tomorrow. We know that's going to be a big talking point for some players. So first with the rookie team, here we go. Got the first and second team rookies. If I can pull this back up. I'm going to remove it real quick because I can't see it. I hate when it does this. Come on. All right. I think it's loading again. All right. So as we see, the rookie first team got Paolo Banchero. That was a given. Jalen Williams from Oklahoma City, Walker Kessler from Utah, Keegan Murray from the Kings, and Benedict Mathurin for the Pacers. Second team got a couple of Pistons and Jaden Ivey and Jalen Duren. Got Jabari Smith Jr. from the Rockets, Jeremy Sochan from the Spurs, and Tari Eason from the Rockets. Looking at those two all-rookie teams, do you think they got it right? Do you think there's a guy that maybe you would have replaced with one of these guys down here who also received votes? Or are you happy with the first two teams?
I mean, I'm pretty much happy with it. Outside of maybe I would have tried to see how I could get Sharp on the second team. I thought he had a really good second half towards the season and played really strong, better than some of the rookies on that list. But overall, I'm fine with it, really.
I think the first tier is pretty good. Who are the other players? AJ Griffin.
Nemhard, Sharp, AJ Griffin, Christian Braun.
I saw that news. It was like the Jalen. They had that mix up.
Yeah,
that was terrible.
The odds of them getting two guys named Jalen Williams. Luckily, they spell it differently, but that's wild.
It's funny.
Jaden Hardy, Malachi Branham.
Yeah, I think they got the first team and second team. Yeah, they got it. All right. I mean, I don't know Ty from Houston.
Oh, Tari Eason, yeah.
Or Jeremy.
That might be the one surprise, possibly.
Jabari Smith, I think he would. I'm surprised they didn't. Well, I guess he's on the Bunker's on the Magic, but I was saying that Jabari should be in the first team. All NBA.
I think Jabari had a slow start to the season. That's probably why he's on the second team. And Walker Kessler really came on, so that I think Kessler probably deserved the nod over Jabari Smith.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Crown got 100. That's crazy. Well, he had the rookie of the year, so that's awesome.
There's no way he wasn't going to get 100. I'm surprised Jalen Williams also didn't get all the votes. He should have been 100% as well too.
Hold on, Jake. Got to remove you. Bring it back a second here. All right.
Cool. Thanks.
Okay. Yeah. So Jake, we didn't hear from you. What do you think about the all rookie teams?
It makes sense. There wasn't really anyone that stood out that was a shocker for me. Like Paolo's there, Kessler's there, Keegan's there. Like everyone looks pretty good. Jaden Ivey's a little low. I thought he might have made the first team. He could have stuck in there, but really, I have no complaints here. I thought all this looked pretty good. It's a pretty strong rookie class overall. Like if you look at it, there's a lot of really good rookies in this class, and yeah, I have no qualms. You can make the issue for Ivy over Williams, but it's a good rookie team.
Okay. All right, and then we also learned about. Pull this off real quick. We learned about the all defensive team, and let me pull that up here. This one might have a little bit more of a reaction for a couple of guys that are on these two teams, but
is it all rookie defense or just like all like the regular? Just
it's all defense.
It's all NBA defense.
I can't really. Can you? Wait, I might have to expand my screen. I was on the. Oh yeah, okay. Now
I like how many times they've made it as well too.
Yeah, so we're looking at the first team. Got Jaren Jackson Jr., Drew Holiday, Brooke Lopez, Evan Mobley, Alex Caruso. Second team: Derek White, Draymond Green, OG Anunoby, Dylan Brooks. Good old Dylan Brooks and Bam Adebayo. Any issues with either of these teams? You know, a player you might have thought should it be on one of these teams that isn't? Or are you
this is tough because I'm looking at this. The player I'm looking for that stands out is Draymond Green. He got a lot of people voting for Defensive Player of the Year. I thought if I had to vote, I was leaning. He was one of the guys I was really heavily considering. But you look at the other two forwards. Triple J, he won Defensive Player of the Year. And then Evan Mobley, it's like, man, Evan Mobley's a defensive force. A lot of people like him. I have a really hard time thinking, but okay, should I put Draymond over Evan Mobley? Is that like a overwhelming favorite? But maybe. I think Draymond should have been on the first team. Other than that, looking at the centers, Brooke Lopez, I like him being over Bam, and the guard spot, Drew Holiday and Alex Caruso. I feel like they're the right selections. It's just I feel like Draymond should have been a first team. Let's put it that way.
Where is Giannis?
Hey, what the? I feel like an idiot for not even seeing that.
Where's Giannis? I mean, Dylan Brooks, Evan Mobley, Jaren Jackson, all should be on there, but are we really having OG over?
No, OG should not be on there over Giannis.
I would have to check the stats out to be safe, but I know like even then, like Giannis was like a top 4 or 5 finalist for Defensive Player of the Year, and now he's not on that.
Yeah, I'd definitely switch out like Giannis for like Evan Mobley, but didn't Giannis miss like a portion of the year for like an injury?
That doesn't matter for this though.
Yeah,
that matters for next year. Yep. Matters for next year. No, you're right. OG Anunoby. Look, OG's great, but I feel like so many people overvalue OG because he's in trade rumors all the time for being a young defensive wing. But come on, Giannis should be on there. He's the most feared athlete. He gets Defensive Player of the Year votes, but can't even make one of the two teams.
You got 4 first
good call out.
46 seconds. Wow.
So Jory put Dylan Brooks got some sympathy votes.
Maybe from his own team.
I heard the Grizzlies wanted to break up, and they're like, "Man, that kind of sucks."
Yeah. That's probably one of the names that definitely caught my attention, especially at the guard position. I mean, I know Derek White's on there, but I always think about Marcus Smart. But Dylan Brooks, look. His claim to fame was a defensive guy. We could take all his antics out of it. His offensive game, for as lacking as it is, you know, he is a defensive guy. So I guess for most of the year, I feel like he was probably in the consideration for all NBA defense anyway. It's just that the way the season ended, yeah, well, a lot of people are probably looking at that name and wondering about it.
Sure.
I know a lot of people on the network, Phillies, Sixers fans, Joel Embiid, who's a pretty good big man as a defender, but I mean, would you take him over Brook Lopez or Bam Adebayo?
No, I wouldn't. Bam Adebayo's ability to switch is really what sets him apart from other bigs. And part of that's because he's not as tall as Joel. Like, Joel's like 7'1" or 7'2". Bam's smaller as far as a height goes, but it gives him more mobility and everything. So I don't have any issue with that. And one thing as far as the voting goes, we talk about Dylan Brooks. These votes had to be, as far as I understand, had to be submitted like 2 or 3 days after the regular season ended. So all the playoff, the Grizzlies falling apart had no impact on this.
Yeah, obviously. Absolutely. Well, looks like at least Anthony supports my Marcus Smart.
Yeah, I'm surprised Marcus Smart wasn't on either of this. Like, I guess that's just how the voting works. I agree with that.
Okay.
I hate saying it, but Marcus Smart is one of the best point guards in the league. Like, that's
apparently not good enough this year. I mean,
to be honest, I used to hate not Dylan. I used to hate Marcus Smart because he kind of reminded me of like a point guard, like Draymond Green, like a point guard's body. But now I understand, like, he's a big part of like the Celtics. Like, he dives for balls, he hustles and stuff, and
Yeah, once you start getting into like the game and knowing a lot more, you realize what players like Draymond Green, Marcus Smart, like they might not have the prettiest stat lines in the world, but what they do in other different things really sets them apart.
Yeah, definitely. And Marcus Smart, he had to grow into that point guard role as well, because he kind of played it at Oklahoma State. Then with the Celtics, they try to kind of make him a 2 guard, but he's not really the best shooter. And they, try
that's being
like
kind
Kyrie
to
Irving
Smart.
And Isaiah. Well, look, there's some games, I'll be honest with you, I'll watch. You'll see at the end, Marcus Smart will be like 6 for 8 from 3, and you'll just be like, okay, so now he's a 3-point shooter. Then next night he might go 2 for 10, and then you're like, stop shooting him. Then he'll hit like some random big 3, the following week, and it's just like, you just got to take it for what it is. He'll play defense, he'll knock down a couple of threes, you live with it. But he's also like an emotional leader, which usually guys like that, that's kind of the role they take. Draymond Green, you could say he's like the leader of the Warriors for, his emotions and all that, and the way that he plays. So those guys definitely have a spot in the league. But now that we have brought up Dylan Brooks, that kind of gets to one of the questions I had, because Dylan Brooks is the topic of the NBA. We know that actually, let me take this down because we don't need this anymore. But the Grizzlies told him, we are not re-signing you under any circumstances, which that part I thought was a little wild for them to add that on there, because I don't think I've ever heard that with a upcoming free agent. But now there's a lot of people wondering, with him trying to be the villain, could he have maybe pushed himself out of the league? So the first question would be, where do you think Dylan Brooks plays next season? I know it's kind of early to think about that. If you don't have like necessarily a specific team, maybe a type of team that would bring in a Dylan Brooks.
I like Miami.
Okay.
I like Miami. I think Miami would be one of those teams. He kind of fits like, if you look at Jimmy Butler and you kind of look at Dylan Brooks, like they're both not liked because they're kind of just assholes. Like that's just really as simple as it is. And I feel like he would kind of fit that Miami vibe. He's kind of gritty, being good defensively. I think he would fit that. I think Miami would look at him as another good defensive piece, someone that they could play over one of their undrafted guards that they probably will still have on that team. I think Dylan Brooks would probably be very well suited in Miami. And then I like the Pistons, just a defensive wing that can help them teach a lot of their younger guys, hopefully not how to be an asshole, but at least when it comes to being very well defensively, because love or hate Dylan Brooks, he is a good defensively. I would say making a defensive team isn't a surprise for me. It's something I could have probably said he might have done in his career before retiring. So yeah.
So Anthony said in the chat he put Brooklyn as a team, and that's a team I've kind of had thought when we talked about this before. It's like Brooklyn makes a lot of sense. They have a ton of cap space. They're a young team. They're rebuilding. They need some good guys on the wing that can help stop all the elite players in the Eastern Conference, and it just kind of made sense. I like Dylan's take on Miami. He definitely is a Heat culture guy, and I hate that Heat culture stuff. I feel like he gets overplayed, but he fits the mold. Like we can hate Jimmy Butler all we want, but we have tons of respect for him. Like I have nothing but tons of respect for Jimmy Buckets. I just hate seeing the Heat play. So, and I think Miami has learned to accept being a team that people root against. They saw that especially early on with LeBron James. So I think they could embrace that. And yeah, I think it makes tons of sense for him to go to Miami. It's just a matter if they can get the cap space that they need.
I need Dylan Brooks to scare straight Ben Simmons to play better or play at all. That would be an interesting dynamic if Dylan Brooks were to ever be paired up with Ben Simmons. How would those two interact? Like, would Ben Simmons just run and be like, I need a trade, I can't deal with him? Or would Dylan Brooks light the fire under him that everybody's been waiting to see? I kind of doubt it, but
no, he doesn't have it. He doesn't have it. He would retire before that.
Probably
retire before that.
Well, if you don't like Ben Simmons, then maybe Dylan Brooks is your fastest way to get Ben Simmons to retire. Dylan Brooks just comes in first day of training.
There you go.
Gets in his like, all right, I'm out.
I think a team. I mean, I like Dylan's pick by Miami. I mean, obviously, they still have a good coach in Exposure. I mean, I like what Anthony said about the Knicks too. And also, I think a dark horse team I know what I'm talking about. I mean, Milwaukee's coming with a new coach. So maybe like Dylan Brooks can. I know Drew Holiday's there, but maybe he can be like the 2 guard and be with Giannis. That's another. I mean, Budenholzer got the boot, so maybe new coach might look into that. Giannis is a humble player. Maybe he'll kind of teach Giannis the ropes and to be respectful. Because he like
about Giannis. He'd have to worry
but
about
I'm saying like the way,
the Thanasis we have to worry about the bodyguard. Thanasis doesn't do anything else.
Thanasis.
Yeah. That's what you got to worry about.
Like I mean, I don't know if y'all saw that press conference when Milwaukee got like swept or almost. It was like 3-1 for one, and a reporter asked him like something like he asked him like, was this season a lost cause or whatever?
Was it a failure? It was the term.
Or a failure, and like Giannis handled that like a true like professional, and like maybe Giannis can kind of teach Dylan Brooks like how to.
Brooks ain't gonna learn anything, man. Come on, he is who he is at this point.
We're all human. We learn. We can learn. It's not like he's not willing to learn. It's like the matter of the right player, and like we've all said that.
It might depend on
team because they're all young.
The type of contract he gets. If he gets like a really good deal, he'll probably just be like, "Oh, my antics got me this. I'm just gonna be who I am." If he can kind of get somewhat humbled through free agency, then maybe. Because I've heard Shaq say this, that Dylan Brooks has to change his mentality if he wants to continue to be an NBA player. Because we all know, like I said, he tried to be not just a villain in the league. He wanted to be the villain. And then when the backlash came to him, he ran from it. So at that point, you can no longer be the villain anymore. You just have to be whatever Dylan Brooks 2.0 is. That's what you got to do. So I do think in your case, Jordan, I think because of how this season went, he has to change something about the personality. Maybe he still comes in with wild outfits and all that, but maybe the open trash talk of certain players, maybe that dies down a little bit. I don't know, but I also think like Jake, we'll probably see much of the same next year, to be honest with you.
I'll put a question this way, as far as, because I think Dylan Brooks is who he is, and he knows he's gotten this far being this.
Right.
Who do you think is more likely to change in the future as far as their personality and what you see on the court? Dylan Brooks or Ben Simmons? Like,
I think Dylan Brooks.
But you have to think about it. Is the point? The point is Ben
too.
Simmons is such
I didn't have to think about it. I said Dylan Brooks he's more willing to learn. At least he's willing to play.
Sure, but like the point is like Dylan is it with Dylan Brooks? Like you have to think, and Ben Simmons is the worst contract in all of basketball. Like he doesn't play, and you're still thinking, well, would Ben Simmons maybe change a little bit before Dylan Brooks? That's the whole point. Obviously, it's Brooks, but you have to think about it, and that shows you that just it's entrenched in who he is.
Yeah. So Anthony put, I'll trade Drew Holiday and 3 draft picks and 3 other players for Dame to the Bucks. So he's trying to gut the whole Bucks roster to get Dame.
It'd be interesting. I haven't really heard a lot of that talk, but I wouldn't hate that.
I would if I'm a Bucks fan. Here's the question for the Bucks though: is would you rather have ship off Drew Holiday or Chris Middleton?
Yeah, I think they would try to do whatever they could to keep Drew Holiday and
I think I agree.
Chris Middleton.
I agree.
Chris Middleton.
I'm a huge Holiday fan.
Yeah, I wouldn't. Yeah, he's definitely would be the one guard of the two. But yeah, I mean, I probably do like Chris Middleton because he's been inconsistent. I know he had injuries and stuff, and like he's just been like he was supposed to be like that Klay Thompson for the Bucks, like that knockdown 3-point shooter. I mean, like he can hit shots, but it's not consistently. So
he's just a hot and cold player.
Yeah,
and he wasn't hot enough in that series.
Yeah, right. Let's see. Oh, Dylan, did you say where you thought Dylan will play next year?
Dylan Brooks? I was the one who said
he said Miami.
I said Heat and then probably Pistons.
Okay. Pistons would be interesting. They have a lot of young guys. I mean, if you bring Dylan Brooks in, are you automatically making him like a leader on that team?
I thought about it. What about another team, Chicago?
Yeah.
With being paired with like Lonzo, he's not coming back. I mean, they got Caruso. I mean, they got DeRozan potentially.
And Caruso was all defensive first team though.
Caruso helps make that team go. A lot of people I think Chicago needs more help on offense than anything else.
Yeah, if Chicago bringing in Dylan Brooks would probably be like we tried the Lonzo Ball thing.
I mean, he'll still give you the 3.
Get something for Lonzo Ball, and I can see that, but I don't really know who's taking Lonzo Ball at this point until he actually steps on the court and shows people what he can do.
Oh, so they need to trade Lonzo and then kind of like fill it.
Yeah, because I don't think Lonzo's a free agent yet. I don't think. And, Lonzo is a kind of defense-first type of player like Dylan Brooks. But only thing is Dylan Brooks actually plays. We haven't seen Lonzo in, I don't know how long at this point. It's been forever.
Yeah, it sucks. He'd turned into a really good player.
Anthony says, "Hold, you talking about hot and cold player? Drew Holiday is one too.
He is too. But I feel like his defense and his leadership on the team was what would make me want to keep him over Chris Middleton. And that's just me. I'm not a Bucks fan. I don't watch him all the time. But just I would pick him over Middleton.
Okay. All right. Let me see. Next question I had. All right. So I guess one more thing with Dylan Brooks, but more so the Grizzlies. I kind of think the way that this is going, the Grizzlies are putting a lot of their failure on Dylan Brooks. Fair or unfair, but that's what it kind of seems like. So looking at the Grizzlies season, how much of the blame pie do you put on Dylan Brooks, and then who else should get some blame in how this season went?
Ja Morant. I mean, it's simple as that. I mean, I would say it's just the Grizzlies itself. I can't blame it on one player. I can't blame it on anything. It's just how the Grizzlies just ran their whole organization this year. Well, obviously, they did a horrible job keeping an eye on just like what the team was doing, how they were acting. Any like sort of good PR training, they just threw out the window. Like, it's just all on the Grizzlies. They just had these superstars, and I think, the team kind of blew up a little too bigger than expected, and maybe the current staff didn't know how to handle that. Maybe they do need to get some different coaching in there. Not coaching meaning fire your head coach, just meaning like people around in that area. Yeah, it's the whole Grizzlies in a sense. You had Ja out for time. The team could have probably done a little bit better. if he was still there, he probably had a little bit better team chemistry. Just overall, it's the Grizzlies though. A lot of them talk crap. It wasn't just Dillon Brooks. A lot of them did stupid stuff. It wasn't just Dillon Brooks. I mean, I think it's just overall how the team was ran this season and what the team did to try to control the players.
Yep, I'll agree with Dylan. Like, Brooks is going to get his blame, and he's getting scapegoated super hard. And it's probably the best thing for the Grizzlies franchise is that you put all the blame on Brooks, you kick him out, you move on, and you try and bring in some adults into into the organization to kind of restructure the leadership that's in the team. I give him like 20%. I give Ja Morant a ton of blame. I give the coach blame for not being in more control, for the front office not being in more control, because all this was just an organization just failing. It was just a failure. They were front runners. All of them talked trash. If you're telling me that Steven Adams being injured is what caused all of this to happen because he's the one adult in the room, like, come on. Then you're just not building a good roster. You're not building to account for good veterans. So Brooks is going to get scapegoated, and hopefully Memphis can change. Because, again, I've said it multiple times on this podcast before. A couple of years ago, they were the team to root for. They were the team that you wanted to get behind. And now they're the team that's just so easy to hate because they can't get out of their own way.
Yeah, definitely agree with that.
Yeah, it kind of
for me, it's looking. Go ahead, Jordan.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say it kind of reminds me of like the Frank Vogel situation where it's like it was a player than a coach, but they kind of use like Vogel as the scapegoat, even though like it was players who weren't playing well. I know it's different. Dillon Brooks kind of did it on himself. It kind of reminds me of like that, like either the Russell, like when we first got Russell Westbrook, was it like they're using like Russell as the issue that he wasn't really a teammate, a locker room guy. He's kind of selfish, or like he wasn't really a player who plays well with LeBron. So let's just fire Frank Vogel. That he was the reason why. But I know that's a coach, but instead of a player. But kind of reminds me of that. They're using like how you said that they're using Dillon Brooks as like a scapegoat.
Easy. You find a way to spin it so you can gain momentum into the next season and momentum into the off season to fix the perceived issues of your team. That's what they do.
And I saw a situation kind of like this with the Celtics. They had a lot of young players. There were some questions about maturity and leadership. What'd they do? Brought in Al Horford. Al Horford is a pro's pro, great leader, and you've seen how the team has taken off. They even brought in Blake Griffin, who doesn't play a lot but understands his role. And the players will tell you, like, he's a great locker room guy. He keeps it loose. So hopefully Memphis's front office takes this season and goes, we could have all the young talent in the world, but if they're not mature enough for this, this is what's going to happen. And Steven Adams, like Jake said, cannot be the one guy whose purpose was trying to keep all these young guys in line. You got to bring in some other ones. Ja Morant has to mature for sure, because if he's going to be the leader of your team, he can't be getting in trouble like he did this past season. So that a lot of it has to fall on him for sure. And, was Taylor Jenkins the coach? Maybe he can't corral these guys. Maybe he's not fit for it. Now, I do think if this goes into next season, Jenkins will probably be a guy who gets fired because of it. Because he already did Dillon Brooks this way. Obviously, the coach is next. You're not going to trade Ja Morant. Not going to take that on. So
not unless he does something stupid again.
Right. Exactly. So tough job for Taylor Jenkins, but I mean, hopefully Memphis recaptures
I hope so.
The magic that they had early on, where a lot of us were looking at like this could be a Warriors type build. The young guys come together, they figure it out, and then they rise up and climb that hill.
Yeah. This again, I'll say it this way: when the Jazz played the Grizzlies in the 2021 playoffs, Jazz were the 1 seed. I was jealous. I was like, man, I wish I was a Grizzlies fan. Like, I wish the Jazz had this, despite the fact that Jazz were the 1 seed, because I knew Utah had a hard ceiling, even though they were 1 seed. And I saw what Memphis had in 2021. I was like, man, this would be so much fun to be a part of. And then they just couldn't gather one way. And with that much talent, if you can't get to a conference finals and back, in this past year and the following year, the head coach has to go. It's just you can't have that much talent and fail in the playoffs.
Right, exactly. All right, so let's transition to another team. Pull up the bracket, but I want to talk about Golden State. So Jordan, this is where you can perk up in your chair and everything. They're now down 3.
He said the Warriors, not the Lakers. We're talking about the Warriors.
If you bring up Warriors, you got to talk about the Lakers because they're playing each other. They played last night. Lakers now have a 3-1 lead. We saw Curry have a triple-double, so he did all he could. Unfortunately, Klay Thompson only gave you 9 points. Jordan Poole was... at this point, I don't really know what to say for Jordan Poole. He looks like a guy, at least the way I'm looking at it, who got his money, probably got a big head for it, and now is playing just, I don't know. He's playing undisciplined. Most times I see him, that's what I'm getting from him. Maybe that goes to the whole stuff in the offseason with Draymond Green and him having a little boxing match, but the fact that the Warriors just gave Jordan Poole all this money on a contract, should Warriors fans and the Warriors start having buyer's remorse about Jordan Poole?
No. I mean, he's still really young at the end of the day. This is his first year of having this big contract. When you usually you start feeling that 2-3 years haven't left. Second, like, for example, next year he's not really playing up to that contract. That's when you're like, oof, man, was that really a great idea? And then if you get to that third year, that's probably when you're like, ooh, this definitely wasn't a great idea. So, I mean, overall, I think they're fine for now. He's still a good player. I mean, he's had some great moments this season still too. I think you just kind of have to give it some time. We saw how he was when he first got that contract. I mean, got hit in the face by Draymond Green because he was acting a little different. I think he'll get into his own headspace. He'll get humbled. It doesn't seem like really there's any big issues with Jordan Poole. It's just sometimes he makes some stupid mistakes, and that's because he's young. Curry doesn't take the best shots. Look at that game, for example, yesterday. Klay and Curry took 2 horrible threes late down the stretch, and
the Klay
really
one,
nobody said
I still have no explanation for that one.
Yeah, and nobody really said too much about it. So I mean, it happens. He'll learn over time, and he'll make right decisions, make right shots. I mean, he has a great coach, Steve Kerr, to help him in those situations. Great players around him like Draymond, Curry, Klay, just veterans of the game. Andre Iguodala, like. He'll be fine. He'll be fine. He just has to figure it out.
Yeah, I wouldn't call it buyer's remorse necessarily. I would say that he's definitely playing like a guy that got paid, playing like the guy we'd see years ago in the NBA that played in a contract year, got his bag, and then regressed a little bit. So there's definitely a little bit of frustration with that, his defense and his hero ball antics, the times where he feels like he needs to be a guy that's taking the shot instead of Klay or Steph. And then obviously you can't rule out the fact that, Draymond punched him. And I know Draymond's a hothead, but he's not just going to punch a teammate for no reason. And it's going to cause it just caused a lot of issues there. But again, the loss yesterday wasn't because of Poole. They melted down at the end there. Steph had those 2 really bad shots. Klay had that bad shot. Draymond Green just threw the ball away out of a timeout.
Curry had that throw after he caught it off of the throw in.
Like I watched the highlights again because I'm like, did I miss something or was it just that bad? And it's something we don't expect to see from a team like the Warriors that are so well coached, have such high basketball IQ to just fall apart like that. And I know Steph makes those shots all the time, but even a guy can make a shot and you can be a fan of the team and go, oh, that wasn't the smart play. It worked. And so the Warriors lost because of that, not because of Jordan Poole. But again, he needs to improve on defense. He needs to be part of the team and the system, but he's still a really good offensive player.
I agree with that. All right, Jordan, go ahead.
Yeah, I feel like Jordan Poole, I mean, he's inconsistent. Like in the game, I think it was game 1 or game like the other night's game. I think it was game 1 when he hit that that shot that was a deep shot when he was open, but it was just clunked off the left side of the rim. He's a good defensive point guard. He can give you valuable minutes off the bench, but like I don't know. I think he's just like, does he play like he's getting 128 million? I mean, I'm looking at his contract. I mean, average salary 32 million. He's earning 123 million at signing, and like he's good. He's good with money until 2027. But like, does he deserve that contract? Like, I mean, maybe it's too early in the contract to figure that out because he's still young. But as far as I've seen right now, like he's just building houses with he's building real estate with the bricks he's missing. Like and that's just like so. But the series, like the question was about the series, right? Just of itself. So I think
just about Jordan Poole and the Warriors, the kind of situation that they find themselves in, being down 3-1.
Yeah, it's just like it's like Jordan Poole, like I don't know, man. Like Jake said, like Draymond wouldn't punch a player like just for to punch a player. Like Jordan's his ego kind of got in his way for sure because he's like, oh, he's big money, like you know what I'm saying. So like I don't think he plays like big money. I don't think he plays like that. But maybe I'm a fool for saying that because maybe it's too early in his contract to. Maybe he has to prove to me that he can, carry a second team. Like we all know Russell Westbrook can carry a second team rather than the first team. We can rely on him to do that. Poole, he's like inconsistent. I know Russell can't. He's an inconsistent shooter, but you know that Russell will lay his heart out on the line. Jordan Poole, I don't see him hustle for balls. I see him just bricking and just turn the ball over. So
that's a great point, Jordan. But I'll put this question here because you had his contract pulled up, and I have it here too. If he was an unrestricted free agent this offseason, would some team offer him 4 years, 128? Would someone offer him a big bag? Some, Detroit, I'm naming teams, New Orleans, Utah, Washington. Someone would offer him back because he's 23 years old and he can go nuclear. And so you have to take into account as well with that contract that the NBA media rights are going to be renegotiated soon, and that salary cap is going to increase. It's not going to be as sharp as we saw in 16 because it's going to be more gradual. But a $30 million contract isn't going to feel like $30 million in a couple years when that new TV money hits.
Right. And I'm looking like this year he's getting 27 something million. Next year he's getting 29. Then it's going up in 2025, 2026 year, 31 million. Then he's getting 34 million. 2026 is last year, and then he's an unrestricted free agent in 2027. So like, is Jordan Poole going to be playing like a $29 million player in 24, 25 to 2026? Like, I don't know. I think this playoffs is like a little sample size of what we could see, but I mean, I don't know. I mean, Poole needs to play like he's getting paid like one, like that player. So
I think it'll be.
Maybe he has to prove it. I mean, I think it'll be okay. He has to prove it.
I mean, yeah, I brought up the question just to get the conversation going, but I do think with Poole, I think part of it is he might be putting too much pressure on himself to help Curry with the scoring load because we've seen Klay Thompson struggle at times. We know Draymond Green isn't a scorer necessarily. Another guy in Andrew Wiggins, who last night was almost getting the Dylan Brooks treatment. They were leaving him open on the perimeter, and he just couldn't buy a three-pointer. So I think maybe a lot of that's worked into this. Looking at the structure of the contract, it goes up each year because I'm sure Golden State's assuming he's going to get better each year. Then by the end of the contract, when he's making 30+, he's going to be playing like a 30+ million type of guy. And maybe in some circles, he might be a bargain at that point.
That's crazy.
So that's what Golden State's hoping. Anthony said, don't blame Poole from one game. Yeah, I'm not, trying to do that. But just wanted to bring it up and see what you guys thought. But yeah, I think Jordan Poole.
No, Poole's forcing it. That's a great point, Kyle. Yeah. He's forcing it and he's trying too hard. He's not doing what LeBron does so often and let the game come to him. He's trying to force his footprint, his handprint onto the game and that's not how the Warriors play basketball.
All right. Sajin, do appreciate the update. I mean,
oh wait, the game's on right now.
Yeah, they started at like 7 or something.
40. Wait, 76ers are beating the Celtics right now.
Yeah, it's 42-30 as of right now.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
It's 12 points. It's
Yeah,
12
that's
points. Come on.
NBA. That's nothing.
I mean, what quarter is it? First quarter? Second quarter?
Second quarter. There's like 7 or 8 minutes left.
I totally forgot basketball. I mean, I didn't forget basketball was on. I didn't know they started. Yeah, all right.
Yeah, East Coast, you guys started a little early.
Kyle, you only so you're not worried, right? I mean, it's 2-2, right? It's 2-2.
Yeah. Celtics were down 3-2 to the Bucks last year.
I did like that game. The after he shot like the corner three to like put him up. That dude that survived the shooting. It was nice. Joe Howe or John Howe, or I think it was John Howe from Michigan, the Michigan survivor. Harden signed some shoes for him, and I remember I saw on social media. I think James Harden FaceTimed the guy at the hospital. It's like, hey, I promise you, I'm gonna give you some shoes, man. So I was confused at who was in the wheelchair, but then I looked it up, and it was a guy that survived the Michigan campus shooting. So that's pretty nice of him to do that, to sign both shoes and give them to him. Yeah. That's what the NBA, is all about. NBA cares. That's what they kind of still have that around there. So I know Tatum does a lot around the community. Jaylen Brown does a lot for the social justice movement. So that's nice.
There's a lot of players that do community outreach type stuff, and may hear about some of it you don't hear about. But yeah, a lot of these teams understand that without the community, they don't have a fan base. So you got to get out there, make yourselves known, act like you are a part of the community, because to a lot of fans, if they go to a game or two, like you're a part of their lives in one way or the other. They're rooting for you. They want you to win a championship. You kind of got to return that with the fans and do some things. Like, yeah, because I agree. The James Harden thing, it was great to see that. Even though he had to hit the three, but I don't care. When that ball's in the air, I was like, just back rim it.
Jaylen Brown, that was his fault. His defense was kind of like.
That's the natural instinct. When Embiid gets the ball that low, a lot of guys feel like they have to crash down to force him to pass it out, and he was just a little late getting back out.
Well, the rule of basketball, I mean, I was growing up, it's when you're in that position, you're supposed to like have your back turned to kind of have that hat so you can see the player on the ball. Like he had his back turned, so
he knew Harden was there. No,
he did. I thought he had his back turned.
No, but he knew Harden was in the court.
It was a good contest. It was like a very, very late contest, but he still put a hand up. But he was just
he still got back into the play, and
that was just his length, his body length got to there. That was still a hard contest.
Yeah, Harden just hit a tough shot. Yeah,
and then Tucker, not PJ Tucker, Marcus Smart kind of hit the Wales a little millisecond late, but
yeah.
I want to ask Kyle about this, since you're the Celtics fan. Since we're moving on to that game, what are your thoughts on? There's two things I was thinking about the game when I was looking at it again. One is the not calling a timeout when they're that last possession, and two, I guess it kind of goes along with that timeout. Would you want Marcus Smart still in there instead of Brogdon in the lineup for that last possession?
Right. So with that, I've seen it all year. Mazzulla is the type to not necessarily use all of his timeouts. It was an issue early in the season. A lot of the players said they appreciated that he let them kind of work out tough situations late in the game. I think that's fine for the regular season. The playoffs, I feel like I would have liked to have seen them call a timeout when it looked like they were kind of taking a little bit too long to get into the action that they wanted to.
It took way too long.
Right. And I can also look at the other side of that and this is Mazzulla's first year as a coach, his first playoff run. Hopefully he learns from that. A lot of, Boston isn't the most forgiving city. I saw a lot of people on Twitter who were like, oh, Ime wouldn't have done that. Well, Ime's in Houston. You got to move on at this point. Mazzulla, I feel like, is a really good coach. I think he acts like an NBA player as a coach, which I actually like about him because he's really intense.
He don't smile.
Yeah, I mean that. Yeah, he doesn't at all. He kind of does the Greg Popovich thing with reporters where they kind of ask a question. He keeps it really stoic. He'll participate in practice and he plays like a madman. But I think the players like that about him. So for me, it's like if the players are cool with it, then I'm fine with it. And even with the play, as long as it took, Marcus Smart was like 0.3 away from hitting the game winner, and then we're not even talking about this. So I think Mazzulla has kind of developed his coaching style throughout the season, but it's not the best look for him right now.
I just feel like you have to take a timeout in that situation. Yeah. If it's overtime, they were down by 1. Mm-hmm. Just get the play. I get the sentiment where a lot of other teams do this, where you don't want to let the defense get set or make any substitutions. I understand that, but at the same time, like if you win this game, you go up 3-1. You have a stranglehold. Mm-hmm. You just have to do it, and especially when the play is not developing, just take the timeout for everyone to calm down and get the play in. But hopefully, like you said, hopefully for Boston, for him, he learns and next time he knows, okay, I got to make sure and call the timeout.
Yeah, because after the game, he was asked about it. At first, he was kind of like, the execution wasn't there, and then later on, he was like, yeah, I probably should have just called the timeout there and reset everything. Right. So it is what it is. But in a city like Boston, everybody's like, Milwaukee's out. We got to make the finals. We should win the finals. How could you lose that game? Blah, blah, blah. And it's like, yeah, it'd be nice. 2-2. Look, I would love to see the Celtics win it all, but I can also prepare myself if they don't necessarily win it all to move on. I don't have to bash the whole team, because a lot of people also, whenever they lose, they bring up the whole Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, who's better than who. Do you have to move one of them? I'm like, I thought we were past this.
No, you keep both of those. People that say they should trade Jaylen Brown, no, you keep both of them.
Well, Jaylen, didn't he have issues, or did he square them out? Because I remember he was saying how he doesn't really feel value because Tatum is there and
he doesn't have an issue. That was blown way out of proportion. Because they asked him do you plan on staying in Boston? His answer was literally what free agency is about. He was like, if the team wants me here, I would stay here. But it's up to if the team wants me or not. That's what free agency is. He could say, I want to be in Boston, but if the team is like, oh, we don't want you, then he's going to have to go somewhere else.
That would be weird.
Yeah, so I think, the Celtics organization loves the fact of Brown and Tatum, the development that they've had together. I think they're going to keep it together, but, we won't know until he signs a new deal.
And plus, if he makes All NBA, makes it a lot easier, because then he can qualify for that money. Otherwise, with the way that the NBA rules are structured, I think Boston can't offer him as much money as other teams. That's all weird. So hopefully for Brown and for the Celtics, he gets that third forward spot and can get the max deal.
Right. Absolutely. All right, Heat Knicks, I had a question about that one. Julius Randle. He's the guy I've talked about a lot where his game at times can be frustrating. But my question is, can Julius Randle be the Knicks' number 1 option, or number 2 if you're looking at Jalen Brunson as the lead guy there, if the Knicks want to win a title? Or do they have to move him or bring somebody else in that's better than him? So can he be a top guy on your team if you're trying to win a title?
I don't think he could confidently ever be the number 1 guy. I think he would have to be a 2, which sucks because he is someone who is making a decent amount of money. Yeah. I think he could be a 2, but if the question is, do I think he can lead a playoff team? I don't. I'm not sure if Jalen Brunson is that one option as well. I mean, he's someone who's good, but it isn't like Jalen Brunson is dropping 30 on a consistent night, can confidently be your lead scorer every night. Brunson does well in other things, being a playmaker and different things like that. It's tough. I wouldn't say he could lead a team, but I would say he would be a solid 2, maybe a 3 option for a championship team, but definitely not the leader.
Yeah, I agree. I like Julius Randle. It's cool to see a player with the skill set, but he can't be the one. And you could even argue he may not even be good enough to be a 2. Like Jalen Brunson's not a 1 on a contending team, but he's a better 1 for this team than Randall currently is.
Wait,
and a lot of it just has to do with Randall's ability. His game doesn't translate as well into the postseason. We saw it a couple years ago where he disappeared in the Knicks playoff run. This year, he's had some good games. He's also had some stinkers. So I don't think that it can translate to a team. He might have to be a third. You might have to be a third option that's really overpaid. But number 1, there's no way. There's no way for number 1.
Okay. Jordan, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree with Dylan. I think that Randall, I mean, I think it's trending in the playoffs. Like some players are just inconsistent. Like Randall has a hot game, and then he has a cold game, and then he turns the ball over, and then he's just like, oh, he's just like a cancer to the team, like in a way where he I don't know. I think this is just that one year when they play. I think it was like they played the Hawks. Like that was his best kind of like that year. That was a couple of years ago. I think during the pandemic or no, that was after the pandemic.
Yeah, it was 21, and they lost in the first round to the Hawks, and that was his. Yeah. He made an All NBA team. It made all that, and that's why he got
that
was
like
contract.
His best year. Yeah, so I don't know, man. I don't think he can be. Maybe he can be like a 1 on like a team that needs like a veteran guy, like the Hornets or like somebody, but like on like a team like the Celtics or like a top contending team like the Bucks. I don't think he can be like that guy. I think Brunson does like ignite a fire that's the Knicks needed at a point guard position because they wanted Mitchell, but we all saw that. We all seen that the Knicks kind of won that. They stole Brunson because now Cleveland is out of the playoffs. But I don't know. I think Randall, he's just inconsistent for me, and like he can't shoot, man. He can't shoot. He shoots so bad that his son looks at him like, "Why are you shooting this, Dad?" So it's like, and now that the All-Star game at the 3-point contest where there's nobody in front of your face, like that's just you and the rim. And like I know it's a little fun All-Star weekend, all that, but I don't think he should have been in the 3-point contest. To be honest, I don't.
He was an injury replacement. And I don't look too
he was
into that.
Oh, he was an
injury replacement. He found out a couple days before. I don't put that 3-point contest against him, but he isn't a great shooter. I will say that.
No, his game doesn't translate to the postseason, and we've seen it before. It just doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
Right. But I think that the Knicks got a point guard in Brunson. I know some people say that duo with the Villanova boys are Hart, and I think, like you said, on my show, like you said, Hart would be better on the bench rather than starting like a bench role. So I don't know who would feel. Well, I know Quickly's out. I think he's been hurt. So I'm surprised he doesn't like get some trying to.
I think Quickly's another bench guy too. I think if the Knicks want to become a legit Eastern contender, I think they need to bring in a guy who's going to make Brunson a complimentary player, like the number 2 guy. That way he's able to do a lot of his playmaking, hustle plays, and all that. Because right now with him having to do all that and be your top scorer, that's a lot to ask for Jalen Brunson to do. So if they bring in somebody in the offseason who becomes their clear number 1 guy, I think they'll be better. Brunson becomes your 2. They need to get more out of RJ Barrett, to be honest, as well.
Yeah.
So I think
it's crazy that we're talking about this Knicks teams on who can be a 1 and a 2, and it's like RJ Barrett should be this 1 that we're talking about.
That's true.
Yeah. So Barrett and Randall, like if you're gonna tell me you're like your number 3 and number 4, okay, maybe you have something. Even though Randall's game, I don't like Randall's game at all, but if he's like your 3rd, 4th guy, you can kind of live with it. But the way it is right now, they're going to consistently be 5, 6 seed, maybe win a series every couple of years, but they're not going to make a deep run. Now, I say all that. Maybe they come back from a 3-1 lead and they're an Eastern Conference Finals team, but I still would want to see them make those changes in the offseason for sure.
I agree.
All right, so the last series, Nuggets and Suns.
Wait, you talking about the Lakers and Warriors, or we talking about this more pool and stuff?
Oh, I guess we didn't do enough Lakers talk.
I mean, I thought you were talking about Jordan Poole.
We did talk a lot about the Warriors for that series, so we could revisit that one and go with the Lakers. So looking at the Lakers
and Suns, and then we'll come back to your Lakers.
Yeah,
How about
okay,
that?
We'll do that. We'll do that. Nuggets Suns, then we'll go back to the Lakers.
Oh yeah.
So Nuggets Suns tied it to. Who do you think has the advantage in this series? Because we know Game 5 is a pivotal one. And who do you think has the advantage?
Where's that? Is that in Denver or is that
It's in Denver. It's in Denver, and it's tonight.
Mm-hmm. So who has the momentum going into Game 5?
It's tough. I'll go first. I think the Suns, you could argue, probably have the momentum because they've won the last 2 games. Mm-hmm. But the concern that I have with this series is really coming down to the Phoenix's depth. They really don't have any since when they made the trade for Kevin Durant, which was a smart move. I'm not going to try and knock it, but they gave up a ton of depth on their roster. You lose Chris Paul, he's hurt. And you look at the minutes that these dudes, that Devin Booker and Kevin Durant are playing, it's a lot of minutes. It's 40 plus minutes of playoff basketball every game, including in the first round when they played the Clippers. And you shouldn't be having to play Booker and Durant 40 minutes when you're going up against the Clippers when they don't have their 2 best players. Like, let's be real. If Russell Westbrook is their best player, you shouldn't need like a 44-minute game from Kevin Durant or a 42-minute game from Devin Booker. They needed that to finish the series off. And then the last 5 games, or last 4 games this series, Devin Booker's played at least 40 minutes, and Kevin Durant's had 3 40-minute games and 1 36-minute game. That's my concern here, is that and then the CP3 successor. They don't really have a good backup point guard. That was a big thing they didn't get this offseason. Even if it comes back, groin injuries are so tricky. They're so tough because you just have to wait. You just have to wait for them to get better. And he's had this injury before. We saw it derail the 2018 Houston Rockets when he hurt his groin, I think in Game 6, and then missed Game 7. And or maybe he hurt at Game 5, whatever it was. They ended up losing that series to the Warriors. They just don't have the ammunition, the depth I worry about to go and keep playing all these games. I don't love what I've been seeing from the Nuggets, but the depth and the minutes really worry me about the Suns, especially with Kevin Durant, who's had a bunch of injuries throughout his career, and he's older. He's got a bunch of miles on him. I worry about that. But as far as momentum goes, the Suns still have it. It's just a matter of, are they going to run out of gas before they can cross the finish line?
Okay. Yeah. Whoever wants to jump in next?
Let me see. I was gonna say that. I mean, like outside of Denver's. Outside like Caldwell Pope and like Kyle said, Uncle Jeff, on the bench. I mean, what kind of depth does Denver have outside of like Caldwell Pope? I mean, to be fair, I don't think the Suns. Bench is kind of. I did like their center that came in for Ayton. Monty Williams is now playing Terrence Ross and T.J. Warren. That's some good, solid couple minutes they can get from them. I know me and Kyle hate Cameron Payne, but it is what it is. He did have a good game, hit a couple good shots. So their bench is average, but it's not the best. But I was looking at the Denver's bench other than like Caldwell Pope, but like their bench is kind of skeptic too. Other than Jeff Green too, but other than that, it's kind of like even as far as their depth. So I
think Denver has more proven guys off their bench because
they have Reggie Jackson.
Green knows who he is. They have who?
Didn't they have Reggie Jackson on that team? Or
yeah.
Had he played at all this year?
I haven't seen him a lot.
No, he didn't. He hasn't played. The issue isn't so much, I think, for me at least, with the depth. Like Denver's does have a better bench, but it's not great. The concern is more along the lines of how much pressure you're putting on Kevin Durant and Devin Booker, where they each have to score 35 a night to win these games. That's my concern with how they can sustain. How can you sustain that high scoring, high minutes kind of a deal, similar to what you could be concerned with with the 76ers, can you depend on Harden and Embiid to have these big nights over and over again? That's more my concern. Both benches aren't great or anything to write home about. It's the mileage that you're going to put on in these games where you're playing every other day, including travel.
I'm looking at the Denver's in Game 3 or Game 4. They played the only bench players they played was Jeff Green, Bruce Brown, and Braun. Johnny didn't play. Watson didn't play. Ken Carter, DeAndre Jordan, Thomas Bryant didn't play. Ish Smith didn't play. But on the Suns, they have Craig, Warren, Lindell, Shamet. Can't forget about him. 19 points. Had game
boy,
4.
My Wichita State boy.
Lindell, Ross had 8. Gave you 8. I know Craig gave you 0. I gave you 0 stat line. So I think they have a little bit more depth when it comes to the Suns because they play them more, but they only play 3 players on the Denver bench players. Jeff Green.
The thing is with the Suns, a lot of the Suns bench is a lot of players that have been there a couple years. Only thing that's different is they lost a couple of the players they played with, but their superstars are still there. They got Chris Paul, they got Devin Booker. The core of that team is still there in a sense. Only thing that's different is you got Kevin Durant, and I don't imagine Kevin Durant makes it harder to play basketball.
Yeah, because in Game 4, you only got 11 points. I mean, this is all right. I mean, they had 11 points from their bench. Green had 5, Brown had 5, and then Braun had 1. So, I mean, I don't know what kind of depth that is. But.
Yeah, the only thing is, like I said, playoffs, you don't usually go past 9 guys.
Well, I'm just saying, Warren had 5 that game. Lindell had 8. Shamet had 19, and Terrence had 8. But
Shamet having 19 is exactly what you want.
That's what I'm saying. So, I forgot about him. I forgot about him on the bench.
That was also Phoenix and Monty Williams searching.
Yeah, that was
that
was the first game Monty Williams decided to play those 2, right?
Yeah. So I guarantee you, going from here on out, he's not going to play all of those guys each game. He's just
your concern is can Kevin Durant and Devin Booker play 42 minutes a night, get on a plane, make the travel, and then play 40 minutes again the next night if it goes to 7, which I think it will. That's the concern for being worn down, is specifically those 2 players when you need them to get 35 a night.
Yeah. I mean, if Booker and KD can do it, more power to him. But I'm sure for Monty Williams, he would love to see whether it's a Shamet or Terrence Ross be a consistent third scorer where you can depend on for 15 to 18 a game. And then everybody else can kind of fill in a little bit here and there. But like you said, Jake, if it turns into Booker having to drop 40 a game and KD having to drop 40 a game for you to have a shot at beating Denver, it might work this round, but then you have to do it all again in an Eastern Conference Finals and then possibly the finals. That's a lot to ask of them.
It's a lot of minutes, a lot of wear and tear. Yep, absolutely.
Okay.
And if you go up against a team this is not to sell the Lakers short or anything, but if you go up against a team like the Warriors in that sense, the Lakers are really good defensively. That's where they can keep the game low scoring. But when it comes to the Warriors, if you want to get into a shootout with them, that is the last team you want to play shootout basketball with it. You don't want to play I can score more than you with the Warriors.
Yeah. Well,
you have Kevin Durant, that's cool, but Curry, Klay Thompson, Jordan Poole, those guys know a thing or two about good offenses, so it'd be rough.
Well, we'll use that to transition back to Warriors Lakers. Now talk about the Lakers really quickly. So looking at the game, what we've seen so far in this series is if the Warriors are hitting their perimeter shots, which they did in the one game that they won, they can win a game. If they struggle from the perimeter, then they struggle as a team because the Lakers, can pack in their defense, control the boards, and then get out and run when it's convenient to them, or they can at least come at you with more diverse players where AD and LeBron can get to the rim. Lonnie Walker last night was playing on the perimeter. You have Reeves. You have different ways you can do it. Whereas with the Warriors,
Lonnie Walker.
Yeah, with the Warriors, it's a lot of if they get into the lane, they're not necessarily looking to finish at the rim. It's more of seeking out the guy in the perimeter for an open three. So as we've seen from the first 4 games in this series, who would you say has been the best player for the Lakers so far?
It's Anthony Davis. He's the one that's wreaking havoc on this team. I love LeBron James. I always have. But Anthony Davis is the key to this team. When he has his big games, that's when they win. He's protecting the paint. He's able to guard out on the perimeter. We saw that towards the end of the game yesterday where he was guarding Steph Curry and forces 2 really bad shots. Anthony Davis's defense played a big part in that. I think he's the most important player in the team. If he goes out, if he has a bad half or a bad game, they're not winning those games. You have your D'Lo game, you have your D'Angelo Russell game, your Lonnie Walker game. You have those role players that have those big moments, but you're not getting there without Anthony Davis. As much as I love LeBron, AD's been the focal point for this, and he should be. He's stronger, he's taller, and he's bigger than everyone on the Warriors. He should be feasting with how talented he is.
Yeah, I would agree with Jake. I think the best player on the court is AD. I think like Lonnie had to step up off the bench and had a good role last game. I think like in order for like a team like to make it to the finals or even win a finals, a team has to run like a oiled machine. Like everyone has to participate, and the Lakers have. I'm not saying the Warriors don't have that. I mean, they play Kaminga, but like everyone contributes off the bench. You got they like Schroeder going to the rim, getting fouls, going to the line. You have Roy Hachimura, which I love the move that they got. A young dude, still proven. He can go to the rim. He can shoot. Stretch big. Lonnie Walker, surprised he hasn't played a little more, but he stepped up when needed to.
He'll play more now.
Oh yeah. But I think the biggest player on that team, and the important player, is AD, because we all know that the Lakers run when AD has the ball. That's why it's important for AD to find his shot mid range, back people down. I mean, we obviously know that the matchup between Looney and AD is not fair because Looney can get you 23 boards or 21 boards, but he's not as quick as AD. AD is more the agile center, so he should be feasting like Jake said. But the Lakers can't win unless AD touches the ball. At least every other play, I think, or every play if it's possible. Like I've always told Gene and other people, Warriors, they do drive to the rim, but they're more of a shooting team. And that game was back and forth. Like last night, it was fourth quarter. Like it was Warriors were scoring, then the Lakers were tying it up, and then it was 3-point game Warriors way. I think one time it was 12-point Warriors way, and then the Lakers brought it back. So we got to give credit to the Lakers where the credit's due. But I mean, my opinion is Lakers before I'll hand it to Dylan and then you, Kyle. I think my prediction is maybe it's a homer opinion, but I think Lakers want to end it in Golden State because they know that this series is tied 2-2 in Phoenix. They can get their rest, but maybe Warriors have a hot night tomorrow night, and then they just win it in LA. But I think that I'm crazy, I'm going to say this, but I think if it goes to Game 7, Lakers might lose it, and they might kind of put the foot off the gas pedal a little bit.
What's happening here?
I do agree. I mean,
surprised you think it goes to 7. The Lakers might lose.
I kind of agree in a sense. The Warriors are that team. They just need one run. If you get it to 7 game, they have momentum. That team lives off of momentum. And that game will be
in Golden State, right?
Yep. It will be in San Francisco. Yep.
So that's why I think the Lakers are not kind of putting the foot on the gas pedal Game 5. They want to get that rest a little bit as they can. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm not scared that they're going to lose, but it's a chance that they can lose.
I don't know, man. It sounded a little scared to me. I don't know.
No. I mean, I think
I was expecting you to be like, if they don't win in Game 6, they'll just take care of it in Game 7. The fact that you were like, yeah, they might lose Game 7. Okay.
Because that's why I think that the game 5 should be like not an easy win for Lakers, but they shouldn't put their foot. I don't think they're gonna put their foot on the gas. So I think they're gonna play their best ball. Like, and Warriors might show up, or they're gonna show up. I know, but I mean, so yeah, I mean, I think that it's gonna be. I mean, obviously, the Lakers can win it in 5 or 6, and then or 7, but they want to get it in 5 or 6.
Okay. Well, Sajin put in here before he left.
Yeah.
Otani's getting the bag. Jordan, glad you paid Lamar. If you didn't, there was going to be some smoke in the city. Dylan, go Hawks. Good stream, guys.
Hawks.
Enjoyed it.
Yeah,
Sajin,
if you're still in the chat, Sajin, definitely follow me on YouTube. And I know you can plug in our podcast, but if you want to be a chatter in my stream, follow us at JJ Sports Talk. It's on YouTube. Definitely, me and Kyle will be on there. You can hop in the chat like you do here, and have a conversation. So definitely, thank you for supporting, man. Like, especially like last night on Monday. But yeah, if you're still here, yes sir. Yep. I'm on YouTube everywhere. Apple Podcasts. It's called the JJ Sports Talk.
Yeah.
But
so Dylan, well, I mean, do you agree with the AD and everything? And
yeah. I mean, this is a series that, like I said, I've been talking about Golden State like this. The Golden State's a streaky offensive team. What you need to do is you need to make Curry like uncomfortable as much as you can, because if you give him any sort of space, he can make you pay for it like instantly. Curry's so good at just switching the tide of games that like putting constant pressure on him is good. We saw what Anthony Davis did, make him take bad shots, and that's what you need Curry to do. Because is really a bad shot for Curry? Probably not. But in a sense, if you can put as much defense as you can on it, make him as much uncomfortable as you can, it helps. I think this Lakers team is kind of, I wouldn't say built off their defense, but I would say that's a lot of where their identity has come from, especially the second half of the season. And who's the best defensive player on that team? It's Anthony Davis. I think he's doing everything, even though offensively he might not be having the greatest time, especially in the playoffs. Defensively, he's still a monster. I mean, a former Defensive Player of the Year candidate. Like, look at Anthony Davis is definitely the focal point of this Lakers team for this playoffs. You still have LeBron there, and he'll always kind of have that identity. LeBron also is known to be able to take over games when he wants, but if Anthony Davis is killing it on the defensive team and you're blowing out one of the greater offensive teams because your defense is so stout, it helps. So yeah, I'd agree and go with the clean sweep for the three of us and say Anthony Davis.
Yeah, I mean, and also I think another player that's important, and maybe he didn't do much last game, is Vanderbilt. Like, he did a good job guarding AD Curry in the first game. Like that, I mean, to understand that, like, Vanderbilt was chasing Curry around the court like a hawk, how a hawk chases bread. He was on him, like, and that's hard to do. Curry's a fast dude off ball, and that. So for some people, that tires someone out to chase Curry around, and he did a good job with But I know last game he didn't really do much, but I mean, you had to give props in game 1 to Vanderbilt to stop Curry from scoring, because he was just on him every play you saw him off ball, Vanderbilt was on him kind of in his space. So
I'll literally say this:
they need to get faces or hands in the faces of Klay Thompson. Even though he's streaky a little bit, he kind of was missing, but he kind of had that clutch 3 in the corner to put him up. But I mean, you gotta put hands up in those faces like Curry and Klay, because that's what they do. They shoot, and if you try to change their shot, then that's good because they push the ball in transition. So I feel like
I will say this: Jared Vanderbilt, the trade the Lakers did to get Jared Vanderbilt, I will say the Lakers fleeced. And when they got Jared Vanderbilt, I thought he was going to be an exceptional piece. I thought getting him with what they gave up was just an instant steal. And he's a young defensive player, and he's definitely proving my point on why the Lakers did really good getting Vanderbilt in that trade, especially with him being as young as he is too.
We'll see what that draft pick turns into in a couple of years. As the fan of the team that owns that draft pick, we'll see what that draft pick turns into. But no, Vanderbilt's great. When he was with the Jazz, he was a great player. The Jazz also didn't need; they had an abundance of talent in that spot too. So that's why they had Walker Kessler, who's a better player. But no, Vanderbilt's great.
Yes. So before Kyle answers the question, like, what do y'all think is gonna go? You think like it's gonna end at 5? You can go game 7?
I think it's gonna go 6 games.
And who's gonna? You think Lakers gonna win it?
Yeah, Lakers. I don't feel great because obviously with the Warriors, they could get hot at any moment. They're the team that could turn it on, and a lot of these games have been very close. There were 2 blowouts, but there are a lot of really close games that the Lakers won. That you could argue last night that the Warriors kind of threw it away with how those last few possessions went. But I still think that the size and the defense, this Lakers defense is so good. We have to forget who this Lakers team was before the trade. They are 2 completely different teams. And so you have to view them as that. They're one of the better defensive teams in the league. And I think it'll probably go to 6 games. I think the Warriors have too much heart and too much fight for their season to end in 5 games on their home court. I think it ends in 6.
Yeah, I kind of will agree. I think it ends in 6, but I will take Jordan's take and say if it goes 7, it will be the Warriors.
Yep, I agree.
But I say it will end in 6.
I had Warriors in 7 to start before the series. I'm sticking with it. I'm gonna tell you right now, if it goes to 7, the Warriors win it. I would say 100%.
I'm not going to give them the automatic win, but it's going to be tough for either team in Game 7. So
at that point, you're going to tell me the Warriors won Game 5 and
turn the ball over like they do.
But I'm just saying, the Warriors would have won Game 5, went to LA, won Game 6. Yeah, they would win Game 7. I think the Lakers, if they don't win it in 6, that's their chance. That's what I think. And also with the question, I do think AD's been the best player. I was one of those who said AD was the best player for the bubble title, even though he was kind of like secondary when talking about that title. I thought AD in that finals run, whenever the Lakers needed a bucket, gave it to AD down low. He made it happen. And we're kind of seeing that now, where defensively he can kind of turn the momentum that way. He'll block a shot, get the team out in transition, and the crowd gets going and everything. Or offensively, if Looney, who's been doing this basically like standing under the rim defense and just letting big men shoot, because it worked on Sabonis, because Sabonis isn't the shooter that AD is, AD can walk into a free throw line jumper and make that all day. That's not that big of a deal for him. But then the issue is if Looney comes out, Looney's not the quickest guy. And AD, who grew up as a point guard, he knows what to do with the ball in his hand. So I think, AD is definitely the key for them. But for Golden State, they got to get Poole and Clay going. Because I can't expect Curry to have 30-point triple-doubles each game. The fact that Curry had a triple-double. He had a triple-double last night. I was surprised when he did because I was like, what are the odds Curry's going to get 10 rebounds in a game? Sure enough, he did it.
Wow.
That kind of lets you know how that game went last night. Wiggins had plenty of opportunities to knock down big shots. He didn't. I mean, Poole, after his little run early in the game, he kind of was relegated to the bench. I kind of get that. I think Steve Kerr is kind of sending a message to him. If I'm going to play you, you got to be smart out there. Clay, I give Clay all the credit from coming back from not only like one knee injury, but another one, then rehabbing one, tearing Achilles and all that. Look, a lot of players who would have gone through that would have retired because they've been like, clearly it's not for me. But you could just see he doesn't look like the same guy. It seems like he's getting more and more tired as the series goes on. But we all know if he has a really good Game 5, he could ride that out, have another Game 6 and a 7. So I don't think the series is over yet. I mean, it's definitely tipping towards the Lakers, but if the Warriors can get it to 6, win Game 6, then I think this series is up in the air. But I give AD all the credit for what he's been doing.
And I'm gonna give credit to Gene too because he said when Looney kind of like plays defense. He kind of plays up like near the foul line, and like that's the center field for AD. Like it leaves the paint open. So, I mean, the reason why I think Lakers might win in 5 is because like if Warriors allow AD to have another big game, and this is the second game. I think it's the first time or first kind of game I've seen where he has because usually it was a roller coaster with him. He had one like 34-point game, they had 11-point game, then a 26-point game. But this is the first time back to back they had two good games. So I think he had like 20 something, and then let me double check in game so I can get my facts right.
But I also say, thinking about all that, for as ineffective Poole was, Klay Thompson, Andrew Wiggins, it was a 3-point loss. With how good AD, LeBron were, Lonnie Walker coming out of nowhere, Reeves gave you contributions. So if I'm the Warriors, yes, it stinks to be down 3-1, but all things considered, last night probably should have been a blowout. And they were right there in it till the end.
Yep, if you're the Warriors, you're upset, you're down 3-1. You can also look at the Warriors and be like, hey, look, we've been down 3-1 before against Oklahoma City. We came back. The core players can say that. And they lost last night's game. The Lakers, they won, but the Warriors had that game won. They just threw it away. They choked, and they can look at that and say, look, as badly as we played, we were right there. We can get them on home court, ride the momentum, and finish the series out. So,
yeah, I would say in game 3 because AD had 25 and then 25 and 13. And then in game 4, he had go to the box score. He had 23 and 15. So it was back-to-back double. So I mean, if they allow AD to go off like he did in game 3 and 4, I mean, it might be over for the Warriors, man. And then added LeBron too, and then whoever comes in for rope like Austin Reeves might go off, or whoever is going to the third option. So I'm thinking like if they can contain AD and keep him, contained. I don't think they can do it with Looney and Draymond. Draymond might get fouled. Like the thing is, like the Warriors, they turned the ball over. I mean, I think they had 19 turnovers in game 1, like 18 turnovers in game 2. I think 16 turnovers in game 3. I think so. It's like, and that feeds Lakers because they're going on the transition. That's where they get most of their points from, like fast breaks, and then they get set in their half-court offense. But that's why I just think that if the Lakers win, it's because AD has another big game. And we were all waiting for AD to have consistent games, so he had 2 back-to-back consistent games in a playoff series. So if they have three times the charm, maybe they can have the third one. But if they can continue AD, then it might be over, and then they can go to game 6. But then they have LeBron too, so LeBron can add you another 21 here and like 10 here. But it's all about AD and if they can contain him. So. And I don't think they can do because Looney is AD's the better center. Like he's a more agile, player.
Yeah. I mean, he just says Looney is more of a. He's more like an old school, kind of slow-footed, really hangs around the rim. He doesn't want to get out on the perimeter and pick and roll and all that kind of stuff. That if you put him out there like that, he's going to be lost on an island. So Steve Kerr and the rest of the coach staff's going to have to come up with some type of plan to I don't even know what you do. Like,
how do you go small?
You could go small. That just means.
But then that's again more points for AD. Yeah.
And Kuminga has the length, but he's not. He's not
going to add Jamaica. Are they going to put JaMychal Green in there?
No.
I would run him out there a little longer, maybe. If Looney is giving you nothing in terms of defense and stopping AD, you got to try something at this point. If JaMychal Green gives you one game where he can kind of contain AD, you take that, and then you look at game 6, and maybe you try Looney again. You try both. You got to try everything at this point.
Yeah. The other fear with that, though, is if you go small, that you're going to be wanting to put Draymond on him, and that's going to put Draymond Green in foul trouble, which we saw in Game 4, and that's just not going to work because he's so valuable. Despite his what his stat line looks like, he's so vital to the success of this Warriors team. So I don't know, going small feels like it would just compound and worsen the issue almost, because it would just allow AD to be that much easier to get his baskets.
It basically highlights why the Wiseman pick not working is really hurting you right now.
Yeah,
because Wiseman was supposed to be
that's
a
a
big
good
man
point when you say that.
He's supposed to be a big man. It's supposed to be the Warriors version of AD, a guy who could step out a little bit, play around the rim. But for whatever reason, he was either not available when they needed him or was ineffective, and now he's moved on to Detroit. So the Warriors have to find another guy like that, I'm assuming probably in the draft this year, and try to get somebody there to do that.
Yeah, interesting point with the Wiseman pick is not only did they pick the wrong player, but they sold really low on him. There were lots of opportunities before they traded him where he would have been valued way higher. They could have got a better player, better pick package, or something along those lines. They sold 10 cents on the dollar from where he was when they could have traded him earlier. So definitely a rare misstep by that front office.
Yeah. All right. Well, if you don't have anything else for the playoffs, we can go to our player guests and then get out of here for this episode.
All right.
Let's pull up the first guy. Yeah, I'll start with this guy here.
Bismack Biyombo.
All right, so we have a guy who started in 2010, 2011 with the Clippers, went to the Suns in 2013-14, traded 17-18 to the Bucks, went to the Pelicans 2021, and then 21-22 was a member of the Clippers. Who is this NBA player?
So 4 seasons. Was it Bledsoe?
It's Eric Bledsoe.
Eric Bledsoe, yeah.
Eric Bledsoe.
Nice work.
Yeah, I saw the average 20 and I was like, dang, who would it be averaging 20?
Because he did play with
right.
He did play with Chris Paul. He did play with Phoenix. He did play in Milwaukee for that 1 year. Then
to be honest, I didn't even know he was on the Clippers right now.
Yeah, I forgot about
Eric
that
Bledsoe.
too.
You haven't heard much of Eric Bledsoe this season.
Yeah, I really haven't. All right, let's go with here's the next player.
That was easy.
I think you get this one pretty quickly, to be honest with you. Started in 99-2000 with the Clippers. 03-04 Heat. 04-05 with the Lakers. All the way until 11-12 with the Mavericks, and then to the Clippers in 12-13.
Oh, is this Lamar Odom?
I was literally thinking that. That, and I was like, I don't want to say that and be wrong. I was like, that's Lamar Odom.
He played in Miami? I forgot about that.
Yeah, that's what threw me off. I didn't know if he played in Miami or not, and I didn't want to be like Lamar Odom and Kyle be like, never played in Miami. Close.
No, this is Lamar Odom's career. Okay. Let's get to this third one.
Yeah, that was a good eye, Jake. I didn't know he played for Miami.
Yeah.
So
he hurt that year?
No, he
the
played.
Miami year? No, he played.
Yeah.
Lamar had some good years. This one you'll probably either get right away or
he was a great player.
Can you see that?
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Let me maximize here. Oh, jeez. Okay, I can see now. So 97-98.
Started with the Celtics, then moved on to Toronto. Went to the Nuggets in 98-99. Minnesota in 2000-2001. The Pistons 02-03. Then back to Denver 08-09. Then to the Knicks 10-11. Clippers 11-12. And then ended back in Detroit 13-14. Who is this?
Man, this is a tough one.
So excited with Boston.
Is it Chauncey Billups?
It is Chauncey Billups, yeah.
Oh, it
Yes,
totally
let's
is.
go.
Nice work.
Wow.
I
was reading it, and the stints in Detroit and New York, like helped. And then I was just like, I believe Billups also played on the Celtics, and so I just took a shot and went for it.
Yeah, he played on Minnesota too. I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm. I remember for some reason when it comes to Chauncey Billups, I just remember all the other weird teams he played for.
Yeah, he was drafted by the Celtics the Rick Pitino years, and then Rick Pitino moved him out. I can't remember for who, but yeah, that's kind of the beginning of the end of Rick Pitino in Boston. Yeah, that's Chauncey Billups.
We each got one.
Yeah, we all got one. That's nice.
Yeah. Okay, I'll work on some other players for next week. But I mean, you guys have anything that you want to say before we get out of here? Go ahead and do that.
No, this is a good show. Show.
Great show. Glad to be a part of it. Glad for the chat. Looking forward to next week. Looking forward to some great basketball we got going on next couple of days.
Yeah, when we get back, probably, maybe we should have our conference finals set. Maybe potentially, we should.
Possibly.
Right.
Yeah, I think we probably should. By
game
5
should Wednesday, and then
for Lakers, even if both Western conferences go to game 7s, like I guess if the Lakers Warriors go to game 7, we might be or not yet.
We should have everything there. We should have everything set up.
Okay. Good.
But we will also know all NBA by next week, so that's going to be.
Man, I'm really interested to see who these guards are going to be on it. I really want to know what direction, as long as Shea's on there.
Shea's going to be on there. It's probably going to be Shea and Donovan first. But Shea's going to be first team.
Sometimes these voters get wild and put a name
that's true.
on the first team that doesn't
first time on a team, so he'd be eligible to get a Supermax next time he's up, wouldn't he?
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Good for him.
Yeah. And we know that that's tied into all NBA, so a guy might get left off. That's going to be the talking point that now you mess with his money. And well, it's the situation the NBA put themselves in. So hopefully the voters do right by the players.
I like it.
And put their
to be fair, I like it. I like it in a sense. I would like it a little more if we would. It sucks because it's like, as fans, I wish we could vote on it, but then we look at like the All-Star voting and we're like,
this is so garbage.
This is why we as fans don't get to pick.
Yeah.
But I like it. I think you should be rewarded for the accolades, and being an MVP Defensive Player of the Year means you can get more money. I'm always fine with that.
No, it's good. The only thing that you could possibly argue is that it can put teams that are either smaller market or not well run into a hostage situation where one player has one lucky year in that period and they have to pay him. And I'm talking about the Washington Wizards and Bradley Beal, how he's a $250 million guy contract wise, but nobody would ever pay him that. That's an outlier more years than not, as far as for what this does, especially with the talent we have in the league today. There's very few players where they get a third team and you're like, is he really an all NBA guy? Now we're having a hard time getting whittling it down to just the 15 for the 14.
I mean, and then it's like this with all sports, regardless of NBA. Like, the talent is just getting so strong. It's like, man, like NFL's a great example. Like, you look at this like 7th round pick, and it's like, yeah, he's killing it in the league right now. And it's like, yeah, it makes sense. I mean, all of these dudes probably do the same stuff now. Like, probably do most of the same workouts, and it just matters about mindset a lot of the times now.
Yep.
Well, got nothing else? Like Jake said, definitely want to thank those in the chat. Syjan, Anthony Price, Jory. I think there's a few others, but those ones I remember. But we're here every Tuesday night, 7 p.m. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. We have the wrestling podcast coming up, I think 9:30. Line in the Sand. I'm sure they have a lot to talk about with the WWE Draft, Night of Champions, all that good stuff. So, if you're into wrestling, definitely tune into them. Yeah, which was great. Puerto Rico, look, shout out to them. They made that show really good in Puerto Rico.
That should have been the main event, because the actual main event kind of sucked.
I mean, it happens. But, Bad Bunny, he's kind of like Jake Paul. You put him in a ring, you get something.
It works.
Yeah, he's killing it. I will be completely honest. Like, I didn't really know who Bad Bunny was until he started showing up on WWE a little bit ago, like his WrestleMania stuff. And like, he's just blown up, and like the amount of work he puts into WWE, definitely I'm glad he's getting the reception he's getting, because he obviously, you can tell he does a great job at training and just practicing, and just a love for the overall, like I'll call it a sport, a love for the overall sport.
No, it is. It's a sport. I'm rocking my Sting shirt right now. It's a sport.
Fair enough.
It's a sport.
Agreed.
Yeah, I mean, you got to respect anybody who comes from the entertainment circle and actually dedicates to try to be, it's not like he's just in the ring. It's like, oh, he's just there for, name, notoriety, or whatever. Like, he's actually putting in work to be.
Like when Floyd Mayweather beat the Big Show at WrestleMania.
God, that was. Yeah. He's like, hey, Big Show, get on the knee. Oh, I punched you. Yay.
Or Dennis Rodman and Karl Malone in that tag team match in WCW back in like 96, 97.
I found that kind of hilarious. Just
look, as a huge Utah Jazz fan back then, I loved it. But looking back as like an adult wrestling fan, I'd be like, really? We have all this talent and we're going to put these dudes up? But I get it. But it's cool when people from other sports take it serious and look like actual professional wrestlers, as opposed to what we saw 10, 20 years ago with these celebrities. Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, got a wrestling podcast coming on, so they'll talk more about that. But as for us, myself, Dylan, Jordan, Jake, it's the Big Three Podcast, and we will see you next week. Enjoy the rest of your night.